Tinfoil hat. Oh, what the fuck are you guys even talking about?
Global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them.
Welcome to Tinfoil Hat. We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Are you ready to get your mind blown?
Good morning, Swarm, and welcome to Tinfoil Hat. You know I am. You know I'm here to do. I'm here to. Whoa, dude. Oh, dude, AI is coming for your job, bro. They don't even care. Bro, we got a great episode today with our good friend, Jeremy Kuzmarov. There we go. Jeremy Kuzmarov. He's got a wonderful website called covertactionmagazine.com and his own personal website. This has been a great episode. A lot of dense info at first, and then it starts cooking with gas. Bang, bang, pow. Go check it out. I am going to be in Costa Mesa. Then I'm going to be in Morris Plains. Then I'm going to be at Broadbrook, Connecticut. And guys, within that time, I will be doing another Comedy Chaos. 17 more to go, and then we might end the show. So get it while you can.
I'm Johnny, by the way. Hello.
What's that?
I'm Johnny, by the way. That was me talking. Hello.
Didn't I introduce you?
No, you didn't. It's okay.
Johnny, Jay Nice, Jay Dog, Johnny Woodard, Bang Bang Pow, live from the Wise Wolf Gold and Silver Studios. Great episode today. Go to Wise Wolf Gold and Silver, or just go to SamTripoli.gold. Use the promo code Tinfoil and get in the Wolf Pack. Precious metal sent right to you. You know, in this fiat bullshit, you gotta have tangible metal and precious metals at that. So get your gold, fool. Go to SamTripoli.gold. All right, guys. We have a great episode. See me live. Just go to SamTripoli.com. Anything else?
Hit that like button, subscribe, and let's go.
I'm on Twitter at Johnny Woodard. Please come hang out with me.
Okay. Thank you. Enjoy this episode.
Drink from the fountain.
All right, let's get into it. Very excited to have this guest on. He's an author, he's a researcher, and he's got wonderful topics to talk about. Obviously, the Clinton kill machine, and maybe a little bit of the octopus murders if we can. Please welcome to the show, author Jeremy Kuzmarov. How are you, brother?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Jeremy, for our listeners who are not familiar with you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where our listeners can find you?
Sure. I'm the managing editor of Covert Action Magazine, so please check out our website. It's www.covertactionmagazine.com. It's a magazine that was founded in the 70s by CIA whistleblower Philip Agee, and we try and expose, covert operations and provide critical analysis of U.S. foreign policy. And you can also find me on Substack, and I have my own website, jeremykuzmarov.com.
All right, all those links below, make sure to click on them and check them out. I'm very excited to talk to you. Where would you like to start? Because I can get into the Clintons. So I don't know if you follow this trend on Instagram, but it's always like good-looking black guys interviewing drunk white chicks, and they're always asking what their body count is. And like, I don't care. The only woman's body count I really want to know about is Hillary Clinton's. I would love to see that video where she has to tell us her body count. Where do you want to begin, man? Because I love talking about the Clintons. I feel like everyone's moved on from them, and I don't think they should.
Okay, well, yeah, and my background is also as a historian. I worked in higher education, teaching history for years. So this study of the Clinton, I'd done a previous study of Obama because, I'm a liberal, but I'm kind of disgusted with the corruption in the Democratic Party and the kind of candidates that we get in that party. So, and I did a study of Obama and his foreign policy, and my specialty is more foreign policy issues, which tend to get neglected. So, the Clinton book kind of followed on the heels of my critical analysis of Obama and his foreign policy. And in both figures, I found that their background was really, shady. I mean, as far as like Obama, my book goes into on him how, I mean, the whole story he gave about his family and his memoir, there's so many inconsistencies. And really, Obama's family was connected to the CIA, and so was Bill Clinton. That's one common thread. And, many people will say, the intelligence agencies really run American politics from behind the scene. And I mean, you can see that with these two guys. I mean, Clinton appears to have been recruited in the CIA when he was a student at Oxford. Cordmeyer Jr., who was a big shot in the CIA, said we recruited him. He got drunk or something one night and admitted openly. And this was reported in Harper's Magazine, although it seemed to be forgotten today. And Clinton was a roommate with Strobe Talbot when he was a student, a Rhodes Scholar at Oxford. Although it should be noted, Clinton never graduated. He was accused of sexual assault. And there was a report on this, and they said he was there to party, not to study. But his roommate, Strobe Talbot, was from a Yale Skull and Bones family and a CIA-connected family. His uncle had been the Secretary of the Air Force, who had done all kinds of favors for the CIA. And the two were sent on a mission to Moscow and Russia to smuggle Nikita Khrushchev's memoirs, because Khrushchev had denounced Stalin, and that was good for U.S. Cold War, propaganda. And then, I go in the book into the whole Mina affair. And, when Clinton was governor of Arkansas, he oversaw a major CIA arms smuggling operation to the Nicaraguan Contras out of Mina, Arkansas. And it also involved drug smuggling. And I did a lot of research on that and covered, I guess, new information.
Yeah, when they get into one of my favorite things to do is watch the presidential debate between Clinton, Bush, and what was his name? Ross Perot. And it's like then you look at everyone there. It's like you just want to yell. This is pro wrestling to you. The only one really there debating is Ross Perot. Everything else is theater. And if you actually watch that debate, Bill Clinton does the worst. It's not even close. The other guys are much older and they're much more seasoned and they do a much better job, right? I mean, a much better.
It's about the look, though. You talk about that all the time. That's why he won the election, because women found him attractive.
Well, yeah. I also think that there was some kind of like when you kind of watch when a third party comes through, you kind of got to go.
Yeah, Ross Perot kneecapped Bush for sure.
Yeah, but maybe that was done on purpose because they kind of people were over the Republican Party at that point. And, I know we're going to get into this, but, charismatic face, where have we seen this young guy's going to make change, comes in and totally BS's everybody.
Oh, he was on the Kennedy vibe for sure.
Yeah, and it was just like all the coke that was getting ran through Arkansas. And it's just like, it's so funny because we act like they're going at it. In reality, they were always working together the whole time. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. All right, go on. Sorry. A couple rants there.
Yeah, well, and I think he hoodwinked the public. He created this image that he was this guy out of the 60s, into sexual liberation, and that he'd been part of the anti-war movement. But really, there's strong evidence that he was an FBI or CIA informant on the anti-war movement. He was always working for the establishment and the CIA, but they crafted this image of him, and it hoodwinked a lot of people. Because in my book, I quote from Wenner, the guy who founded Rolling Stone, which is this iconic '60s countercultural magazine, and he had an op-ed. He's like, vote for Clinton. Finally, somebody of our generation is going to take the reins of power. I think he was fooled. And then, I go into how Clinton kind of spun military intervention. It was a turning point in American political history because you had a pretty strong lobby at the end of the Cold War for a more peace-oriented foreign policy. And even Robert McNamara, the architect of the Vietnam War, testified before Congress that we need a new, now that the Cold War is over, the Soviet Union is defeated, it's time for a new peace dividend. We should cut the military budget and spend more on human needs.
God, I wish, right?
Clinton developed this concept of humanitarian intervention, like that we have to go in and stop genocide. And he got all these liberals to support military intervention, and he ultimately escalated the military budget and set the ball rolling to where we are today.
That is incredible. And, and when you have McNamara, who, like, he's an interesting figure in American history because he makes that Fog of War movie where he basically goes, the Gulf of Tonkin never happened. It was the fog of war and all that stuff. And then you get into the deeper parts of it. And, it's just very interesting the way you talked about how Clinton his facade was just completely and utterly manufactured and astroturfed. I mean, how often do we see that happen? I mean, Bill Gates is a great example. I mean, another guy who didn't even graduate, right? So, I mean, we just have these, what we call LARPs, these live action role players who play these roles forever. And then you get into like his relationship with his wife, and I don't know if you want to go into that stuff, but it's like the relationship between Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton is very interesting, man. Very, 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 very interesting. And her connections to the Chicago mob and how close that stuff is. Like, you think about like the mob and how they helped Kennedy get elected, and then you kind of look at Hillary Clinton and what her dad was doing, and then they end up marrying each other. And
so you think they were never in love? You think it was all like at one point a straight like old school marriage where like it's just for the money, it's for the moves?
I mean, it could be some Will Smith, Jada Pinkett stuff where like it doesn't really seem like they were ever. I mean, they act like it, but in reality, she's talking about Tupac all the time, and and it's just like it just seems like it was a marriage to help their image. Mm-hmm. And you hear the stuff about Huma Elbadine and maybe the relationship between her and Hillary Clinton. It's very, very interesting. And again, I mean, we can get into it, but I'm gonna let you go, Jeremy, in terms of where you want to go with this discussion. But again, we're getting in the Mossad with Monica Lewinsky, all this stuff. It's like the Clintons did so much damage to this country. They did so much damage, and when we talk about this all the time on this show, it's like, dude, it's all George Bush death cult. All these guys, even Biden is involved in it. So, yeah. So, I'm with you on this with McNamara and all that. So
it's funny you say they're all George Bush death cult because they are. Like I feel like even though he ran in opposition directly and philosophically to George Bush Sr., he was just a continuation of that. And then George W. Bush runs, on the humble foreign policy, no foreign intervention. But really, he was just a continuation of the Clinton doctrine, which was, poking your nose all around.
And then Obama. I mean, Obama. If you watch the election, Obama, like they knew people were tired of old white men. They're like, here's this charismatic black man, right? And who they run him against? The oldest of old, John McCain. You could not get more cranky old man than John McCain, which runs everybody to Obama. It's like these puppets. It's like
he did that with George W. Bush too. He ran everybody George W. Bush. I mean, it was Bush McCain. Remember that was. He did the same thing with W.
Really? Bush McCain ran against Bush, but they were the same party, right?
No, in the primaries.
Okay, yeah. I mean, just crazy.
In 2000, yeah.
Yeah, well, and I think it's a point I would agree. It's run by the marketing industry, so they just create these characters for public consumption. And I mean, on the liberal side, I think the goal is to get liberals to ultimately support basically, Republican type policy or, militaristic foreign policy. So they package it as, humanitarian intervention, and they create this kind of image that enable these figures to sell the war more effectively. When really, they're also, really creation, like in the case of Clinton and Obama, I think both were really creation of the intelligence agencies and have background and close connection to them. And then when they were president, like I think Leon Panetta, who was the director of the CIA, said, well, Obama gave us everything we wanted when he was the president. And it's similar with Clinton. Like he revived the powers of the CIA, and there were all kinds of shady covert operations that were being run in those years, including the Balkans conflict which I go into, and illicit arms smuggling operation that was similar in many ways to the Iran-Contra. That was a violation of the arms embargo to the Croats, and stuff in Central Africa and that was going on under his watch. So, but it all started with that shady MENA operation to smuggle arms and drugs to the Contras in Central America.
Yeah, and I've gotten in arguments with people about that. These people who are progressive liberals who just love Joe Biden, and it's like, again, I don't think anyone's come to save us, so I'm not a Trump guy at all. I'm kind of like you. I consider myself an old school liberal in the traditional sense, which to me is like common sense liberalism, and I would almost say it borderlines on libertarianism at this point, where we've seen such a crazy shift in the pendulum of political, views and stuff like that. So I tend to be old school liberal, but I get in these fights with people, and they're, and they're just like people who should just despise, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They should despise them for what they did, and they just somehow through mental gymnastics can figure out find this way to like Joe. And they call Trump a racist. And again, I'm not here to say one side or the other, but and I go, well, what about these crack laws that Joe Biden helped create? And they're like, well, we wanted them because crack was so bad. I go, but you don't understand, the people that were smuggling in the crack are also the people creating the laws against crack, and then also owning the prisons in which your fathers, your sons, your mothers, your daughters were all sent to go do for a ridiculous war to fund these wars on the other side in some other country. And it's just I just don't get how people can think they're so smart politically and not see the circus that's going on. And it's the uniparty for sure. And I just find that all so interesting. And again, you just totally bring it up. It's like that meme where they show planes dropping bombs, and they'll show an aircraft carrier, and it'll be flying, or excuse me, an airplane flying, and it will say Republic on it, dropping bombs, right? And then the picture below it will be a picture of the same plane, but now it's got rainbows all over it, and it says Democrat, and they're dropping the same amount of bombs on everybody. And it's totally true. It's like this thing where it's if they play to these kind of your weird weaknesses, which is this belief that you're being oppressed and these groups are oppressed, and all they gotta say is we support these oppressed groups. These groups think they're different than the other side, and they're totally not. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and my thought on this issue is that they're very skilled at psychological warfare and manipulating people, manipulating public opinion, and getting people ultimately to support policies that are against their own interests and against the interests of humanity, but packaging it in a way. They know how to tap into people's psychology, and they employ experts, from the advertising industry and psychological experts. To achieve that. And you get liberal Democrats who present themselves as these humane, great humanitarian figures doing the most abhorrent things imaginable.
Yeah, it's so crazy. But you're completely right. When you study the Clintons, I learned this from, I think it was Jimmy Dore that told me this, but he was basically breaking down that, it's like the Koch brothers, who are traditionally seen as Republican, conservative fundraisers, basically were a big part of the rise of the Clintons to bring the Clintons in, to bring the Democratic Party farther to the center and more business friendly. But when you think about business, there's nothing more business less friendly than NAFTA and free trade and all that stuff, right? And this union busting that's going on. It's really crazy to me. But yeah, the Koch brothers were essential in the rise of the Clintons. Hey guys, real quick, I want to tell you about our good friend James McMahon and Copy My Crypto. The crypto market is in fuego. Woo-hoo. Big things are happening, and you need somebody who can help you navigate through those crazy times. It's what a great time to be alive. Crypto, crypto, crypto. Let me tell you about CopyMyCrypto.com. Has it pissed you off to watch crypto fly up in prices for a decade and you still have done nothing about it? It makes sense. Crypto is complicated and really boring. Well, here's the good news. You don't need to know a thing about crypto to make money like so many have. The CopyMyCrypto.com membership site shows you the exact cryptos that YouTuber James McMahon personally owns, which means you just got to copy him. It's like having a big brother who knows what he's doing. You don't need to know a thing about crypto or how to invest. Just simply copy along. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about James. He runs the Crypto with James YouTube channel, which has over 54,000 subscribers. In the summer of 2020, he told his viewers to buy 26 cryptos. Had you put $100 into each, it went on to be well worth $123,000. Of the 26 cryptos, his top pick of the year, the one he singled out called Phantom, went up 692 times from when he said to buy it, okay? That one call alone has retired a number of people, including guys in their 20s and 30s. Remember, this is public knowledge. You can go to YouTube and verify for yourself. So if you'd like to join the 2,800 members who have copied James, then pause what you're doing and head over to copymycrypto.com/TFH. That's copymycrypto.com/TFH. That's TFH. You'll not only find proof of everything I said, but my viewers will get a full access for just $1. Yes, you've missed out on Bitcoin, but there's over 2 million other cryptos. Do you really think you've missed out on all of it? Guys, don't waste your time. Go to the site and read it. Once again, that's copymycrypto.com/TFH. Guys, it's ended money worries for so many. It may just do the same for you. Copymycrypto.com/TFH.
Well, in my book, I go into the early chapters deal with his rise to power in Arkansas, and he was bankrolled by the three major powers in the state: Walmart, Tyson Chicken, and the Stevens Investment House, which was the largest hedge fund outside of Wall Street, and is intricately tied with the CIA. They bankrolled his career, and he adopted anti-union positions from the beginning of his career, although he would give very nice speeches before the AFL-CIO to make it seem like he was their friend and to get their vote and donations, but then he would stab them in the back every time. And the head of AFL-CIO in Arkansas, J. Bill Becker, said, yeah, Clinton, he'll pat you on the back and then piss down your leg. We know him all too well. And so it started from the beginning of his career, and he shifted the Democratic Party. I think he saw on a practical level that organized labor was in decline, and Democrats couldn't be successful and couldn't bank on support from organized labor anymore. That would be enough to counter the Republicans and their support from large corporations. So he courted the large corporations, and he allied himself with the military-industrial complex. And don't forget, he expanded NATO. I mean, I blame him for starting a new Cold War, and this disaster we're in right now in Ukraine really has its roots in the Clinton era with his disastrous decision to expand NATO. But that was driven against the promises of George H.W. Bush that they wouldn't. They had promised the Russians that the U.S. would not expand NATO, but Clinton's the one to expand it to 3 countries in Eastern Europe. And that set the ball rolling for the new Cold War, poisoned U.S.-Russian relations. But it was because of his connection and courting money from the large defense contractors who give as much or more now to Democrats than Republicans.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like there was this whole notion that, George Bush, had he won a second term, was going to push all this stuff. But because he lost the second term, and I think he personally didn't want to do it again, I think he's like, I did it. I'm done. I'd rather work behind the scenes. Bill Clinton did it all. And like, again, you know, with the NAFTA and all that, and then obviously NATO, the expansion of NATO and what that involves. It's incredible to me. And like for him to be seen as this kind of the good guy by all of these Hollywood types. I mean, like how many females were in that Hillary Clinton Apple TV show? Was it on Apple TV where she was going around the country and meeting with people?
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah,
and it's like hilarious. And like what does it take for someone to be labeled a warmonger when she brags about assassinating Muammar Gaddafi and all that stuff? But yeah, I mean, like the Clintons did so much damage to this country, and they just like you can get through it. Like Reagan did damage. People like love to rewrite that guy's history, right? They love to make him look like the good guy. Was not. You know, I mean, he really ramped up the Cold War too. Like we could have gotten out of that a bunch of times. He decided not to. Then George Bush is obviously a George Bush. I mean, CIA lied about his services. You know, he has like 90 stories about getting shot down. Then, of course, there's a perfect picture of him. I mean, it's such bullshit, dude. Him and his wife, that's all weird stuff. And then Clinton comes through as this kind of can play saxophone and just brings in all these horrible, horrible things, man. Like, really just destroys our media, destroys our banks, destroys our commerce. And like for some reason people in this town love this guy, and I just don't get it. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, what you play saxophone? Arsenio, was it? Arsenio
Yeah,
Hall? Was
yeah.
that?
It's like, oh my God, he's one of us.
So funny.
First of all, never like how many times you see you ever meet a saxophonist? They're a little weird, dog. Okay.
Boy, that was the time, huh? Arsenio Hall was on the air. I mean,
yeah, you got a warmonger just playing the sax. He's like, yeah, it's like so crazy to me.
Bizarre
so
world.
Crazy.
Well, and I think they didn't know who he was. I mean, that was really covered up what he had done, the corruption, because I go into that in the first few chapters in the book, and it kind of astounded me. And, you know, I did a lot of research in Arkansas. I was able to interview whistleblowers, and I did research at the University of Arkansas, Fayetteville, where there had been a group of graduate students who are trying to expose the truth about the Mina affair, and they deposited their papers there. Anyway, there's just so much material on that, what he was doing there, you know, and Hillary played a key role because she worked for the Rose Law Firm, and they were involved in the, you know, they represented these banks and the Stephen Investment House that was laundering all the drug money. And Clinton set up this economic development agency that was giving loans to like military contractors for this smuggling operation. And the CIA was even shaking down local gun owners to get weapons to be sent to the Contras. And this was really a major CIA covert operation he presided over that corrupted. Arkansas became so corrupt under his leadership. And then, yeah, as you say, you know, liberals were mesmerized in the election with this guy because he could play the saxophone. I mean, it was all just for show. I mean, this was a really dirty guy from the beginning of his career, and we saw that play out through his presidency and even post-presidency with all we've seen with the Clinton Foundation and the corruption associated with that.
I mean, you get into it like they were corrupt. Because I'm old enough to remember. Like I called a buddy of mine from college. His name's Chris. And I remember when Clinton is the first and only president I've ever seen live.
Where'd you see him?
He came to UNLV to speak. And it was on our campus. Now it's known as like the PIDA student lobby area after a buddy of mine's sister passed away. And they named the area for him. But he spoke there. And my friend Johnny, I was thinking about you, came with a Ron Paul a sign, and the Secret Service just grabbed him.
Dude, that's so funny you say that because I saw Bush speak after he was president, probably 2002, not too long after 9/11, and he spoke out. We were going in this arena to see him, and a guy just wanted to see how long the line was, so he climbed up on a trash can, and these guys, it was just all a crowd around. These guys that you had no idea were there in black suits just came I'm talking about in 5 seconds, tackled this guy and slammed him down off of this trash can. And it just, I mean, it was such a difference. That wouldn't happen today, but it wasn't too long after 9/11, you know? So anybody trying to get a hire, it made me think of what you just said about them coming and grabbing that guy.
Oh, dude, they and I was like, whoa,
it was so
man.
intense.
They're stifling literally his First Amendment right there.
What year was that?
I want to say, because I knew Chris back then, so it had to be like 93. When did he run? What year did
Ron Paul ran? I mean, for president. He ran as a libertarian in the 80s, I think.
Yeah. That's how I knew him, because my buddy was from Oklahoma. So what year did Clinton run for office? 92?
92.
Yeah, so it was in 92.
92 and 96, yeah.
Yeah, dude. It was crazy, man. And they tackled him, and I was talking to him. I'm like, do you remember that? He goes, yeah, dude. Yeah, there was a big article written about it.
They don't mess around.
But you just think about like how he was presented and like what he was in there to do, and like all the corruption that surrounded them through all their shady deals. And, we've had people come on here before and talk about the Clintons, but it's like, obviously based on because like somebody came on, I don't know if you guys remember this, that somebody came on, was it John Barber early on in one of his original appearances, talked about how there was a senator that died. Oh, was it the senator that there was a senator that didn't play along with the Kennedy hearing, and the
Warren Commission?
Yeah, I think it was the one guy that voted the other way, right? If I'm not wrong, it's something along the lines of that. And he went to the airport, got on a plane, he was never seen again. And the room,
that's Hale Boggs. Yeah, I know about that. I actually wrote an article about that. Hale Boggs was part of the Warren Commission, but he developed misgivings about its conclusion that Lee Harvey Oswald was, the lone assassin, and he was starting to, I think, speak out about it. And he was getting in a very high position. He was the Speaker of the House. And it was toward the Nixon, the Watergate proceeding were starting, so he could have even become potentially a president who was going to reopen the investigation, and then he died in a plane crash that looked like foul play. Yeah, and Bill Clinton picked him up at the airport. Now, there's no evidence
How crazy is that?
Was involved, but it does seem a bit odd. Although Clinton was very young at that age, so.
But he was like the fact that right there now we see pictures of him with Kennedy, right? And now he's picking up a guy that is already having problems with the CIA, which fits into exactly what you were talking about, Jeremy, is that they were grooming this guy early. So now they're using him. That's the earliest.
He had talent. Clinton did have talent. He could go, and they said a guy said, he could go to a town fair in Arkansas in the rural areas, and he could win over the audience. And they said from right away they knew this guy could go far, that he had that ability, and he could go to the AFL-CIO and he would win them over, but ultimately he would screw them, but he would get their vote. And he was a brilliant fundraiser, brilliant talker and socialite. So they saw the talent, and as you say, they groomed him. And he was connected. Winthrop Rockefeller was the governor of Arkansas in the 1960s, and Clinton had a family connection with him. So he may have been groomed also by the Rockefeller dynasty.
Of course, they have their hands on everything, and it gets down to this is data. Everything is data. Even back then when they didn't have computers, they had ways to assess data. And so now you're telling me this guy goes to Oxford, okay? They're probably watching. I bet you they just have these certain colleges where they're just watching everybody. Who's getting in trouble? Who's doing this? Okay. Oh, they watch the police report. Oh, did this student get in trouble? What did he get in trouble for? And what are his grades?
Also, the secret societies, dude. That's what I mean. They come with blackmail. It's built in. That's why they.
Yeah, you have to hump a pig or something like that.
There's rumors.
Something like that.
Yeah, I think Clinton he was a good student at Georgetown, but then, as I say, he didn't graduate. He got the Rhodes Scholarship, but he's more of a party animal. But he made the connection, with Strobe Talbot. Well, at Georgetown, one of his professors, Carol Quigley,
oh
wrote
my
a book
God,
called
really?
the Anglo-American establishment, and was one of these CIA intellectuals who promoted rule by the Anglo-American banking elite. And he, so Clinton was a favored student. Clinton actually was one of the few to get an A in his course. I mean, he was a smart guy, but he was, like a party animal and womanizer. And actually, there's evidence he was a rapist. Then when he went to Oxford, he never graduated. And even at Yale, they said he wasn't a serious student. But he made the connection. Like in Oxford, he made a connection with Strobe Talbot, his roommate, who later, Talbot, they say, the godfather of Russiagate. And Talbot was served as the point man for Clinton's Russia policy in the State Department. And he was Time Magazine Russia editor, and he came from the CIA family. So it's these kind of connections. Winthrop Rockefeller, Carroll Quigley, Strobe Talbot, and others that pushed him to the top. So,
well, I hate to say because it was my favorite basketball team growing up, but Georgetown Hoyas, Patrick Ewing, Georgetown is a Jesuit school, and there's a lot of Jesuit secret society stuff coming out of there. So here he is. He goes to Georgetown with the belief everyone thinks he wants to be a lawyer, right? So he goes there and he's just dominating. He's doing great. He's getting now he goes there before Oxford, right? Or is that the same time? Or
yeah. No, he started at Georgetown, and Georgetown is a recruiting ground for the CIA. He did well. He was a good student, an undergraduate, but he had these womanizing tendencies. And by the time he went to Oxford, they said, well, the State Department had to do a report because he was accused of sexual assault by a student there, and he never graduated. And they wrote up a report, and the report said he was there more to party and network than to study.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's so many of us. We're like, I just want to go where there's more chicks than there are guys.
You would agree? I mean, he's a brilliant guy, though, right? Would you agree with that?
Yes, I think he is highly intelligent. He's brilliant as far as his social skills.
Yeah.
I think he is intelligent. He understands world affairs. I wouldn't say that about all U.S. leaders.
No.
I think like Joe Biden is not smart at all. Joe Biden was at the bottom of his law school class. But Clinton is smart, yes.
Yeah, I agree too. But Biden's losing points every day too, IQ points. I mean, it's just going. Oh.
Yeah, it's just really weird. Now Ohio is like, we're not gonna put them on the ballot unless something happens, which to me is just they're gonna
Biden?
The
Really?
Ohio, who's in charge of their election said, Biden isn't going to be on the ballot if he can't produce this, and that.
Whoa.
And I'm just like, okay, dude, sounds pretty crazy to me.
You think that's a sign of trying to get rid of him somehow?
Oh, dude, I mean, there is no way. Dude, I just don't see how they can run this guy.
They need to hurry, though. I mean, there's what?
But no, the closer you get, the less likely people can react to it properly.
I still think he's gonna be there.
It's possible.
But it seems there have been signs recently that he's not going to be, but they just keep doing it, man. Here's the story. President Biden might not appear on the ballot in Ohio. Ohio law requires that a presidential candidate be certified. That is, the state must be notified that the candidate has been officially nominated 90 days before the general election. But the Democratic National Convention that will formally nominate Biden won't open until nearly 2 weeks after the August 7 deadline.
So, but then the question becomes...
That means nobody. No Democrat could be on the ballot.
Nobody.
Yeah. I think they're going to have to amend that or something. But
if they're going to be like, okay, we're just going to spitball this one.
The legislature in Ohio must meet to change that. I just can't imagine. I don't know.
But nothing about this election is normal. It's in a weird time. This is the weirdest. No debates so far.
And the debates we're going to have are going to be way before the election. Wait, it's almost like they know Biden is declining so rapidly that they need to go ahead and have the debates now.
Well, you think there's a good time to do that? Do you think bottom's going to fall out by this time?
Yeah. I mean, they're not getting any younger. Go ahead and have it now.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy, dude. This is so nuts, dude. And so we talk about this. It's like, the P. Diddy stuff that's going on right now. It's like they knew that guy was that dude way early, man, and they just see if you check a couple boxes. Are you smart? Yes. Are you driven? Yes. Are you a sexual deviant? Yes. You know, and that if you have all those, are you charismatic? Yes.
There you go. Yeah.
Then they use you, dude. That's 100% how it goes, man. And you know, for him, it's just like so crazy. And like, I don't know, does your book get into any of the criminality of the Clintons, Whitewater, all that stuff?
Yeah, the first several chapters deal with his background when he was the governor of Arkansas. So I go into the Whitewater and the Mina affair and all the money laundering. And I think Hillary was integral in the money laundering in her position with the Rose Law Firm, particularly because she was representing Stevens and some of the banking houses that were laundering the money. And then I do go into the Whitewater. Yeah, and they really sold Jim McDougal. You know, it showed their character. They sold them under the bus. I mean, you know, they were involved in these illicit land deals, and then they just, you know, he ended up going to prison for many years, and they got off. And he, you know, he said something to that effect that the Clintons, you know, have no loyalty or decency at all. And you know, he ended up dying under very suspicious circumstances in prison. And
Of course.
That he didn't get the right heart medication that he needed. And you know, he knew all the secrets, all the corrupt and criminal things they did. So it was very convenient for him to die in prison.
Jeremy, for those who may not be familiar with Whitewater, can you tell us a little bit about what Whitewater exactly was? Because I think they hear the term, but they might not actually know the case.
Well, it was these land deal. The Clintons bought some land, and that was a place they were going to build vacation homes. And then when he was the governor, like he did a lot, I think people don't know a lot of the corrupt things he did. Like he actually would put in legislation or put in funding, like to build roads to connect to the land he had bought, so it would make it a viable enterprise. But then there was fraudulent activity associated with these land purchases, and that's what landed his partner Jim McDougal in prison. And Clinton was able to escape it, and he was using it like to funnel money for his own political campaigns, and it got even tied in with the Mina affair and this covert operation, particularly with the laundering of funds through these banks, and a lot of it was with the Stevens Investment House, who owned a lot of the banks in Arkansas, and then Hillary Clinton was representing him as a client and representing these banks. So she was involved in some of the fraudulent financial practices, and they should have gone to jail for a long time, but McDougal was the scapegoat.
So you keep mentioning Mania. What is it? What are you mentioning there? I'm sorry.
Oh, Mina, yeah, that's Mina, Arkansas is in western Arkansas, and these are these clandestine arms smuggling flights that were run out of the airport. And they were also smuggling drugs, and the pilot was named Barry Seal.
Oh, yeah, okay.
They made a movie about it starring Tom Cruise. But this was an oppration to arm the Nicaraguan Contra. The CIA selected Arkansas because Bill Clinton was their asset. And they, you know, because Congress had cut off aid. The Contras were counter-revolutionaries. There was a socialist revolution in Nicaragua in 1979. The U.S. and CIA had supported the corrupt Somoza dynasty for like 50 years. And then, you know, the Reagan administration said about arming remnants of the Somoza government and counter-revolutionaries to try and overthrow the Sandinista government. But then Congress cut off aid in 1984 with the Boland Amendment. So that led to the Iran-Contra, where the CIA and Oliver North took it upon themselves to illicitly continue smuggling arms to the Contras to try and continue to attack and overthrow the Sandinistas. And they used Arkansas as a base. They even brought Contras for training. Like people around Mina saw the Latin American figures being trained like jungle warfare. And Clinton, Felix Rodriguez was a CIA agent who had been involved in the Bay of Pigs and the murder of Che Guevara. Apparently, he was so friendly with Clinton that he had a key to the governor's mansion, and he was spotted training some of the Contras around Mina. And then Seal was flying arms but they were also flying drugs to make money out of this. They were bringing back drugs to fund some of these operations. And like from the research I did, they were actually shaking down local gun dealers to steal their guns to send to the Contras.
So crazy, right? That's so
Yeah.
crazy. Guys, I want to tell you real quick about how proud I am to be an American. This is how proud I am to be an American. I'm proud of this American company. That's right. Blue Chew!
There we go.
Blue Chew, an American company making American boners for American people who love American boners. Let me tell you about Blue Chew, boys, girls. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but in a chewable tablets at a fraction of the cost, okay? You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or whenever an opportunity arises, because when she says it's go time, you better go and take no time, okay? You can take them anytime, anywhere. The process is simple. Sign up at bluechew.com, consult one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you receive your prescription within days. The best part, it's all done online. So there's no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew tablets are made in the USA, and prepared and shipped direct to your door in a discreet package. Bang. Or with a marching band, fireworks, bald eagles who are rock hard flying around singing the praises that someone's about to go to Pound Town. Everyone's loving Pound Town. Yeah, let's go. So here's what we need you to do. Blue Chew wants to help you have better sex. Discover your options at bluechew.com. Chew it and do it. And we got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew for free when you use the promo code tinfoil at checkout. Just pay $5. That's bluechew.com, promo code tinfoil to receive your first month free. Visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this podcast. Blue Chew, enjoy. And the reason I find this nuts is because I'm guaranteeing you guys this. Well, I should make guarantees. I made guarantees about the Denver Nuggets, and that did not work out. So I'm done making guarantees. But what I do want to say is that if you guys remember the Antifa riots and the BLM riots, how just piles of bricks just showed up on pallets full of bricks just showed up out of nowhere, and everyone's like, where the fuck did that come from? Right? Neatly stacked? Like, how's that happen?
Felt like a video game. Like, you never play Call of Duty, but sometimes all of a sudden there's weapons for you. I'm like, who dropped these?
Who dropped? Yeah,
who dropped these? Perfect timing.
Well, the reason I bring that up is because here we have a situation where, the U.S. government is stealing from Peter to pay Paul, right? They're stealing from American gun owners to arm Sandinistas. And so, like, if we go into this immigration riot stuff might be happening, they're going to supply them with guns and ammo as well. And these guys are all military trained people. It's like crazy to me. So not to get too far off that, but I like, this is what happens. This predator class picks these people that are it's almost like what you see in stand-up comedy. And I know, Jeremy, this might not be your thing, but like, I'm a stand-up comic, and like, I've been talking right now that a lot of the guys you see blowing up, especially off the internet, are like what I call demographic mascots, right? And there's just all these plug and play guys that they just connect with their base, like, and they're like stereotypes of that base, where it's like, keep it simple, stupid. So that's the same thing they do here with Bill Clinton. They just find these guys that people resonate with. You remember how they sold George Bush? Man, he's like me, dude. I could just have a bear with that guy, even though he was a fucking recovering alcoholic and he didn't even drink.
Yeah.
Right?
Could not have been more elite.
Yeah. Man, I just want to have a Bud Light with that guy and just hang out and talk about America.
I mean, the
bro.
guy goes home and paints.
Exactly.
He goes home and
but
paints.
He doesn't drink. That the whole
No,
thing.
but I'm saying, but him as an everyman is just. Now there was some of that to him. I think he was more. He was kind of a dipshit, which is a lot of people are dipshits, so they identify with that. but he was as elite a dipshit as you can get. I mean, the guy was, born into a dynasty. He was, he's a prince.
I would say Donald Trump's more relatable.
Yeah, I mean, but
he's also. He's born
he's
into
yeah,
millions.
Yeah, he's elite too. Yeah,
his dad. It's like, they're all related, and if you go back far enough, right, they're just all related.
Yeah.
And there's just this power thing, and that Nicaraguan stuff is so crazy because that's just what we do, man. We just why did they want to? Why they wanted to arm the rebels because they wanted to stop another rebellion from happening? Is that what it was? There was a government that they supported, then there was a rebellion against that government, so then they wanted to fund a rebellion against a rebellion?
No, because it was a socialist revolution. 1979, the Sandinistas took over. It was a socialist revolution that overthrew the Somoza dynasty, which had been supported for like 50 years by the U.S. government, and it had actually been installed back in the late 20s, early 30s. The U.S. Marines had invaded Nicaragua and installed the Somoza dynasty, and they assassinated Augusto Cesar Sandino, who's like a populist leader, and the Sandinistas took his name. So the Contras were mostly remnants of the Somoza dynasty who were trying to get back their power. But this was a very corrupt ruling dynasty that had basically ruled Nicaragua as a personal fief and took control of all the industries for his own family. And they were hated by most of the Nicaraguan population. So the Contras, they're basically a terrorist army. And actually, the reason Congress cut off aid was because the Sandinistas took their case to the World Court that the Contras were engaged in terrorist activity, including sabotaging and mining their harbors, and they were killing sailors and trying to sabotage the commerce in violation of international law. So this was basically a terrorist army. And then when Congress cut off aid, Oliver North and elements in the national security bureaucracy took it upon themselves to illegally and independently try and continue to arm and finance the Contras, including through drug smuggling. And they selected Arkansas because Clinton was the CIA asset. They used Arkansas as a key base to fund the Contras and to smuggle drugs to fund those operations. And they laundered the money in the local area banks. And Hillary Clinton enabled that through as a partner in the Rose Law Firm.
Yeah, and so obviously it wasn't the Sandinistas. I was wrong. It was the Contras. That's why it's called Iran-Contra affair. And this is just the way it goes. And you go, why does the government always want the worst of the worst in? Okay, because they a couple reasons. One, they don't want to have to pay everybody. They love dictators. You pay one guy, you bribe him, you got everything on lockdown, okay? And then you want him to be the worst of the worst. They don't want good guys in there. They want bad guys in there that terrorize their entire nation so they can't come together and rise up. So you want someone who brutally, in the name of these corporations, curb stomp their population so no one can ever come together and take over the natural resources, which is the story of Iran, right? And we'll get into all that. So I know I don't have you forever. Okay, we got about another 15 minutes. I know you said you had a hard on. It's my fault, guys, because
I can stay longer if you want. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't mind.
Okay. Cool. That's great. So, is there anything else on? Because I want to get into octopus murders with you, but I would love if you still had more things on the Clintons.
And actually, go ahead.
Okay.
I just had one question. Does the body count for the Clintons start right there when those two kids get murdered, or does it go way back? Have they been killing people before then?
Well, I don't know. There's things I don't know. I did a lot of independent research and interviewed people, but there's some things I don't know. I'm sure there's even darker skeletons that any researcher can find out about. There are a couple cases that I went into in the book that seems clear that Clinton was behind it. There was a guy, Jerry Parks, who was part of Clinton's security detail, and he had accompanied Clinton numerous times to MENA and knew all about that, and had all this information about Clinton's role in the cover-up of those operations. And his wife actually managed an apartment complex where Roger Clinton, Clinton's half-brother, rent an apartment, and Bill would come for these drug sex orgies, and she would hear Bill Clinton having sex with underage girls. And then Jerry Parks was assassinated mafia style before the '92 election. So that looks pretty clear that Clinton and his enablers were behind that. I don't know about, there are a lot of other cases that look suspicious. It would take a good private investigator to prove Clinton's involvement. I don't know about every case, but I know there are some cases that looks pretty clear cut.
So how long did you cover the Clinton crime organization? Meaning, like, through your book, what's the last thing you cover? Now, how deep did you go? There's this whole thing with, like, you know, child sex trafficking and all that stuff that people believe might have that they're involved. I personally do, but that's a whole different story. But like, how deep did you go? And like, what's the last thing you talked about in terms of recent events?
Well, yeah, it's not comprehensive in trying to investigate the Clintons' crimes. A lot of the book focuses on Clinton's foreign policies, like some of the stuff we've been discussing, like NATO expansion and his support for the war in the Balkans, his support for covert operations in Central Africa. So a lot of the book is on that. The first few chapters go into his time as governor of Arkansas and address some of these depredations, including especially the MENA. There's a whole chapter on the MENA and the smuggling to the Nicaraguan Contras. And some of the research I did, through interviewing whistleblowers and research at the University of Arkansas Library, where this Arkansas committee deposited all their collective research over years, you get a damning picture of Clinton's involvement in criminal activities. But there's something that would require further research. Like, there is a book called The Clintons' War on Women by Robert Morrow I can recommend, and Roger Stone, that goes into Clinton's sexual deviancy and has strong evidence that he was a rapist.
So you just mentioned Clinton and what he did to Africa. I don't think a lot of people. I mean, we know what Hillary Clinton did to Muammar Gaddafi in Libya, but what was the extent of Clinton's destruction in Africa?
Well, Clinton supported the Rwandan government. The Rwandan Patriotic Front took power in Rwanda during the period of bloodletting, Rwandan genocide, and they likely triggered it by shooting down the airplane of the Hutu president.
Oh my God! Who shot it down? The U.S. government?
Well, the U.S. government was arming. Paul Kagame was the leader of the Rwandan Patriotic Front. He's still the leader of Rwanda today. He's a brutal dictator who's murdered many of his opponents, including the leading of a singer in Rwanda named Kizzy Mihigo. He was murdered by Kagame because he had some lyrics that were criticizing his government. And Clinton called this guy one of the greatest leaders of our time. And the CIA was supporting him from the late 80s, early 90s, even before Clinton came in, because the U.S. wanted a foothold in Central Africa to access all the rich mineral wealth. And they helped Kagame consolidate his power. And Kagame triggered all the violence in Rwanda when he shot down the airplane. He'd been supplied with weapons and missiles. And it's likely the missiles came from the CIA that were used to shoot down the Hutu president named Juvenal Habyarimana, his aircraft.
Oh my.
And Habyarimana was coming back from a peace conference where they were working out a power-sharing arrangement that would have avoided all this bloodshed. And the U.S. actually sent in troops to Rwanda under Clinton to consolidate Kagame's power. And Kagame committed a lot of the atrocities in the Rwandan genocide. Depicted in our media, the Hutu were the bad guys, and Kagame saved the country. But that's part of the psychological warfare we're discussing. In fact, Kagame had been trained in psychological warfare at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. So he knows how to deceive the public. And then Clinton administration kept arming him and supplying him to not only consolidate his power, but he invaded the Congo to overthrow the Congolese president and install a proxy government in Congo. And the U.S. wanted to access the mineral wealth of Congo. And in fact, after the new president was installed, after Kagame's invasion, a company from Hope, Arkansas, Clinton's hometown, American Mineral Field, got lucrative contracts for mining in Congo, because Congo is one of the richest countries in the world, especially as far as mineral wealth, diamonds, and the material like cobalt that's used in all our electronics. So they used Kagame, the proxy, for the U.S. to have a foothold and then to secure power in Congo when his force invaded. And the Clinton administration was providing weapons, intelligence support. Private military company like MPRI were supporting and training Kagame's troops and some special forces. And they installed a pro-Rwandan, pro-U.S. government under a guy named Joseph Kabila, whose real name is actually Hippolyte Kanambe, and he's more of a quisling of Rwanda. And he gave good deals for American corporations, like some based in Arkansas. That Clinton even had connection to. And George Bush also had connection to some of the, like Barrick Gold was another company that profited off all this. And George H.W. Bush was connected to that company.
It is so crazy because this is exactly the game plan, the playbook that they use almost in every single country. It's like you get everybody on the world. You get the world on the petrodollar, so that means the most to them. And then you just print fake money and use that monopoly money to bribe everybody, destroy their countries, get them to agree to these ridiculous loan deals with terms that are impossible to actually meet. And then once they default, you go in there and you rape them of all their natural resources. It happens over and over and over. And it's like what got Gaddafi killed was that he wanted to get him off the petrodollar. So they killed him, and Clinton celebrates that stuff. But it's like Iran too. This is straight up how they ran. This is what happened to Iran, dude. They got the who was the leader that they got who lost, right? The Ayatollah.
In Iran, it was the Shah of Iran, and then Ayatollah Khomeini.
So it went to Shah. Yeah. The Shah loses, and someone else goes in.
Right.
Well, in '53, they had Mohammad Mossadegh in '53 tried to take control of Iran's oil. So the CIA, and led by Kermit Roosevelt, orchestrated a coup. They brought in the Shah. He opened the country back up to U.S. And British investors. And he had these torture dungeons and brutally repressed his own population. And then you had the Islamic Revolution in 1979 that restored some of the economic sovereignty to the country. And that's why the U.S. Has had it in for Iran ever since that Islamic Revolution. Although they declared America the Great Satan, and now the neocon want to overthrow Iran. They've been trying for years with the Israeli hardliners. Waiting for their opportunity to overthrow that Islamic government.
Well, since we're on it, do you think? What do you think's going about the current state of Iran and what just happened with the president there? Any suspicions?
Yeah, well, I mean, it is suspicious. We know they've been trying to overthrow that government. I mean, I did an article, I guess it's a year or two ago, about this women's revolt in Iran. That seemed kind of manufactured because they claim that this young woman, died at the hands of the morality police. But then there was a video that showed her, she just collapsed, and she had, health issues. She collapsed in a police station on her own, like she wasn't attacked or even in talking to morality police. And this incident was used for this major protest movement that it seemed to have been part of a strategy like color revolution that's used in Eastern Europe to try and mobilize people to overthrow a government. And, they may be using, like, right after October 7th, the Wall Street Journal, which is an organ of neoconservatives, was immediately blaming Iran for the October 7th attack by Hamas in Israel. And there was no evidence of that. And eventually it was conceded there was no evidence. But it shows, there's this campaign to demonize Iran and a regime change operation. So I don't know what happened with this recent crash, but it wouldn't be surprised if they're just trying to destabilize the country and provide a pretext to finally go in there. Because after 9/11, I think it was Wesley Clark, publicly testified that a general who worked right under Donald Rumsfeld came to him and said, "We have a list of 7 or 8 Middle East countries we want to overthrow, and number one on the list is Iran." And that was always the goal. They thought Iraq would be a cakewalk and they would move on to Iran, but it didn't work out that way. So they're looking for the opportunity.
Yeah, I mean the hammer and nail, and then you take that list that he the list of countries he names in his hammer and nail speech, Wesley Clark, and then you take that list and you compare it to what countries didn't have centralized banks before 2001. It lines up perfectly, and then you look at everybody we've gone through, lines up perfectly, dude. It's one. I hate to say it, I don't want to get too far off of this, but they destabilize this country too. I mean, when you get into the woman that they made the martyr who had health problems, I mean, don't even want to get into George Floyd. Okay, I'll get into George Floyd. Same thing. Then you get into that trans girl that they were trying to say that she that they killed her and they beat her up and they killed her in the bathroom, and they show her videos in the hospital. She has no bruises. She's fine. Nothing happened.
Yeah, that was because I live in Tulsa, Oklahoma. That was in Oklahoma.
Oh,
she
really?
committed suicide.
Yep.
But in the case, I agree with you. I think they're trying to destabilize. I think it's a strategy of the oligarchy to polarize the electorate and kind of divide and conquer, have us fight each other, and they're just laughing all the way to the bank. And I have an article coming out on January 6th that just surveyed what we know about FBI provocateur. And that I think they stirred that up as well and manipulated the events on January 6th just to further polarize the electorate and breed more support for police state measures.
100%. So I watched this one woman. She did a story on January 6th, and which it was for my premium content, and she basically broke down that there was a woman who was in the intelligence apparatus that was discovering that there was this quote unquote group called the Accelerators. And it's a group of people who wanted to accelerate basically the dissolving of the US government. That's what this person discovered. But as they went deeper into the accelerators and they found this website like incel.co or some crazy stuff like that they basically started to believe it was a honeypot. And then they started digging deeper, and then they found this like satanic group called like the 9 Angles, and we've had people come on the show and talk about this. And then when they went deeper into the 9 Angles, they found FBI and CIA agents astroturfing all this stuff at the it's layers upon layers upon layers. Because I always say this: if there was not this kind of intelligence predator class, how many wars would actually happen? Like, how many people would actually be going? Yes, there's psychopaths, but how many of these things? If we find out all these people that are these dictators, there's a hidden hand helping them win. There, we can get into Israel Palestine still, dude. It's who's getting weapons, who's not getting weapons. That's a whole different discussion for another day. But when you get into that, it's everything is astroturf. When you study that the people who quote unquote kidnapped the Michigan governor, okay, and that how they're all FBI informants, and then the guy in charge of that operation gets moved to January 6th.
Yeah,
I mean, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, they're experts in that. And there's a guy I know who works in the CIA, and we were having a conversation the other day. And he said, yeah, they do this every day. They think up these kind of harebrained schemes every day. And it's for the goal you're describing. Yeah, they want to divide. They want to pit us against each other. And that's what they do in foreign countries, so that they can control the countries, have the people fight each other, divide them, and it weakens the country, and then they can move in and control the resources. And here, yeah, they just want us fighting each other and hating each other, and not mobilizing together against this predatory class that runs the country in their own interest and not in the public interest.
I totally agree. And then you get into, I don't know if you've ever seen the Capitalist Conspiracy by G. Edward Griffin, but it talks about pressure from above, pressure from below, and it's about how our politicians and our leaders are doing stuff that drive us crazy and we don't get why they're doing it. And then below is like all the crime is rising, nobody's doing anything. So you have this kind of pressure cooker starting to happen. And what they want is for us to beg to give up our constitutional rights and beg for martial law. And once martial law is installed, it's never going to be given back. Our constitutional rights will never be given back. And then you just see the slow just draining of your rights, your ability to make money, the ability to take care of your family, and just all around misery, which is what these energy vampires feed off of. That's the whole play right now.
And it's called a strategy of tension, and it's been used in a lot of countries. Yeah, they manufacture fear. They often initiate terrorist attacks or create terrorist attacks or events like January 6th to keep the public in fear, and they're not thinking rationally, and even 9/11, I mean, many people are very suspicious about that, who was behind that, and that would fit with the paradigm. People are not thinking rationally. They're willing to suspend their judgment and sign away all their liberties and sign this kind of support legislation like the USA Patriot Act, which was a big step towards moving the United States away from a democracy to an authoritarian or totalitarian state. So, and after January 6th, they rammed through a lot of legislation to increase the budget of the FBI, to beef up police forces, to beef up funding for Homeland Security and their Orwellian systems. And I actually investigated, and a lot of the congressmen who were involved in the January 6th committee, they're either getting money, they're paid. We should always remember who the politicians who control them. It's the people who pay for their campaigns.
Yep.
And Benny Thompson was getting money from Homeland Security, and he played up, the January 6th. And Lynn Cheney gets a lot of money from these hedge fund billionaires. And they invest in police and military industry, and they're the ones who have the real interest in keeping the public polarized, hating each other, and not unifying. What we need is an interracial movement of the poor. That's what Martin Luther King was trying to organize before his assassination. Interracial movement of working class, middle class people who will fight for real democracy and good government, and that's what they don't want.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Now, so do you have a moment to tell us about the octopus murders? Or
yeah,
okay,
absolutely. Yeah.
So
and a good segue to that, Joe Biden was involved in the cover up of that when he was the Senate Judicial Committee. He helped cover up the investigation, because what happened is that there was this computer software for people who don't know the story. Because there was recently a Netflix film about it. There was a computer. This guy named Bill Hamilton was a computer wizard and entrepreneur who developed this software that law enforcement agencies would use to track legal cases. And this is in the days before the internet. Now it's easy. We could look up a case online, but this is before they had that. And this would help law enforcement agencies be able to coordinate and to easily access legal cases. Now, the CIA saw great value in this software for various reasons, and that they could use it for their own purpose. So they thrust his company into bankruptcy, and they basically took over his company and stole the software from him through some fancy legal maneuvering. And they used that software, like even in the Iran-Contra, they were using the software because it was, they could install it in banks, and it was an easy way to track financial activity and to better launder money. That's a key reason the CIA wanted it, and also to expand its surveillance net. And then they ended up selling it to many different foreign countries. And Hamilton was trying to expose the truth, and he was filing lawsuits. But and there was a congressional investigation led by a guy named Jack Brooks in Texas, who was an honest congressman, and he was getting to the heart of it. But Biden helped to quash that investigation.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So basically, what I found shocking to that is something we talk about on this show all the time, is about how the internet got away from them. Right? Because you think about DARPA, you think everything's coming out DARPA and all these great. And then here's this guy who comes up with this software that's so impressive that the intelligence agency is like, holy fuck, why didn't we come up with that? And they basically steal it from him. And not only do they steal it from him, but they basically set up all these situations where it makes it impossible for him to get it back or make money on it. So then, dude, what gets really crazy is the show talked about he was involved in the the Iran did you say this, the Iran Contra the Iran hostages situation?
Yeah, they were using the software, the CIA, to launder money and facilitate some of their arms smuggling deals. And then there was this journalist named Danny Casolaro who was investigating this and about to write a tell-all book. And then he was murdered. I mean, it was clear he was murdered, although it was framed as a suicide. And I think he was about to deliver information. You know, John Kerry was running a Senate committee investigating corruption in the Iran-Contra affair, and with BCCI, was a CIA money laundering bank. And through his investigation into this Proma software, he had accumulated information about the BCCI that he was giving to Kerry, but he was murdered before he could give that information to Kerry, and it would have brought down some very powerful people.
But do you, in your heart of hearts, believe John Kerry was going to do anything when he's part of the Skull and Crossbones whole situation?
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
he sold out, but at that time, his committee was somewhat serious. That was in the 80s when he still had some moral fiber, and his committee was fairly serious in investigating. Some of it was because of partisan politics, because it was the Reagan administration and Bush were involved in Iran-Contra. So that was a serious committee he was running. So if he had this information that Casolaro was going to give him, it would have got out in the public, and it probably would have led to arrest warrants. So that's a motive. Many believe that that's the key reason why Casolaro was murdered, as well as his exposure. What Casolaro called the octopus, the CIA network that was involved, like stuff I was describing earlier, with Clinton and the armed and drug smuggling to the Contras and all kinds of other nefarious activities, even possibly the bombing of the Lockerbie. There was a Pan Am Airway flight that was bombed over Lockerbie, Scotland, and 250 people got killed, including some DIA agents who allegedly were going to Washington to expose this octopus, and the flight was brought down. So they may have been involved in all kinds of terrorist activity. Yeah, I did an article about this, and if you want to interview an Australian researcher, I could put you in touch with, who knows a lot more than me and has really investigated this for years. His name's Peter Osborne. He also had a software. He's also a science genius like Bill Hamilton, and he's Australian. His companies were stolen too by the CIA because he was developing independent encryption keys that they didn't want. And now for the last 20 years, he's investigated this, and he knows. It'll blow you away what he knows, and he has a website I can point you to.
Yeah, man, we'd love to have him on. I find it interesting. Okay. I find it interesting. What I find is there's so much that part of the Octopus Murders that is just straight up textbook intelligence agency operations. First of all, you have a guy that is constantly getting caught, let out all the time. He gets busted for sexual assaults, he gets busted for murders, and he gets out. He gets out of jail. They let him out. And he goes in. So a big part of this operation is they needed funding. So they robbed this San Francisco drug dealer who had all this cash, and they sent in their hitman. Whose job? Who they constantly kept bailing out? Where we see this with Charles Manson. Where else do we see this? We see it with whatever that that really big crime podcast that came out a long time ago, where it said like the Middle Eastern guy killed the Asian girl.
Oh yeah.
You
Was
know,
it on Serial?
yeah, it was called Serial, the first season, and the guy who basically rats out Assad or whatever his name is, he gets arrested all the time, and he gets let out all the time, because he's an informant. And you see that happen in this case. This guy kills this very wealthy drug dealer in San Francisco to fund all the operations that they needed funding. Did you look into any of that? Because that's crazy to me.
Yeah, and well, there's a guy, Michael Riconosciuto. He was this brilliant scientist whose father had been in the CIA, and he worked for Wackenhut Corporation, which was an FBI CIA front. And he was modifying some of the software. He was a computer genius who was modifying this stolen computer software. But then, he knew too much, so he ended up serving 27 years in prison on bogus drug charges.
How
And
crazy
his
is that?
Australian actually got him out of prison finally. But this guy knows so much. He's still alive, but he's had his life threatened many times. And yeah, what he's seen in his lifetime is just too much almost for
Dude,
for
27 years. You wouldn't hear from me again.
And he was totally innocent. And he actually had the evidence that he was totally innocent. It was a total setup. The poor guy spent 27 years in prison, and he's like a genius. I mean, he could have done so much with his life and career, and he was stuck for the prime of his life in prison, sadly.
Damn.
It's so crazy. And this was basically a software that allowed, well, what it did was it connected databases, right? That was the big thing. The lawyer that came up with it was like, you would have somebody arrested over here, and then he would have warrants over there, and they would never know it because there's no national database, and this software helped that. And I don't know if they like that or they're like, why didn't we think of that? And then they take it and then they use it as a way to just spy on people. And it's crazy to me. And then it involved like running then they were also using an Indian casino on a reservation to wash money, I believe, as well. And then there were murders there too to cover up this whole thing. And it's just like murdering all the way along. Crazy.
Yeah. And that's where Riconosciuto was working on that Indian reservation to modify the software. But yeah, there was all kinds of corrupt thing going on there and all kinds of murders because I think somebody in the tribal council started to be suspicious of what was going on and started to investigate, and then he was killed. And yeah, they set Riconosciuto up on fake drug charges, and the poor guy spent 27 years in jail.
So then the reporter did, and then these guys picked up where the reporter who got murdered left off, and then they were getting super deep. And then I think they kind of lost their minds. And by the end of the whole doc, did you see it, the Octopus Murders?
Well, I saw it.
I saw
Actually, I wrote a critical review because I think that film kind of whitewashed the truth. And at the end, it tried to insinuate that Casolaro may have actually committed suicide and that these guys went crazy. But actually, well, I know Bill Hamilton, and he's not crazy at all. He's the guy whose software was originally stolen, and he's investigated this for years. And he's a very, very smart guy. And he sends me articles sometimes, and I've interviewed him. And he's a very level-headed guy, and he's like he has so much information about all this, and he's uncovered so much corruption. And that's a technique of the power that be to try and demonize the whistleblowers, to try and make like they're the crazy ones. But he was onto it, and so was Riconosciuto, and they make like he's crazy in the film too. They show him in his worst light. But these guys know the truth, and I think they're both very honorable people in the story.
Yeah, it's just super tragic that we just can't live our lives, and it just seems to be this realm that we live in where there's just this predator class that is constantly attacking while we just want to live our lives. And it's just everywhere, dude. It's just everywhere. And I know, the internet is just a giant dead internet full of like, I know everyone thinks I'm crazy when I say this,
Panopticon prison or Potemkin village.
So I put it together.
What happened to bots?
What do you mean?
You can't just call them bots.
Well, no, but it's the illusion
of
freedom when in reality you have all of these people working together to control our reality and to just feed off our stuff. I mean, like all this stuff coming out about, gangster rap being fake and being a CIA complete and utter psyop to get the black community to commit crimes and go to their prisons where they make money off of privatized prisons. It's like so crazy to me. And like, why do you pay attention to this? And what is the name of your website that you're an editor for?
It's called Covert Action Magazine. www.covert, COVERT, action, ACTION, magazine, all one word, MAGAZINE.com.
And
we welcome new submissions. If people have articles or are able to uncover covert activity, please send me an article. My email is jkuzmarov2@gmail.com.
Yeah, I mean, I love what you guys are talking about here, man. This is really crazy. And like, with the CIA in Hong Kong and, it's just like, I think people look at the CIA and even the FBI to a point, and I think they're illegally blending together because the CIA is not supposed to be in the on U.S. territory, and I think they're infiltrating the FBI so they can cover both of them. But you study what's happening in Hong Kong and all that agitation. It's just like they just can't leave us alone. They have to constantly be manipulating us all the time. Dude, this looks like a great website, man. I will make sure to include the links here. I'm sure you guys are getting shit constantly from the powers that be, but I love what you guys are doing. And anything else, man? I mean, like, it's just like this is Gary Webb, right? It's Gary Webb. That's about what happened to him. And they're like,
yeah, I did an article on that. He was murdered clearly because he was shot. They claim he committed suicide, but he was shot twice in the head. And I interviewed people because I did an article about it, and I interviewed people who knew him, and they said, he was in great spirits. He was supposed to be depressed. And that's the same thing with Casolaro. They invent these fake story that this guy was depressed and all this, and he committed suicide. But then you talk to people who know them, because like this guy, as far as the Casolaro, like Peter Osborne has researched this for 20 years, and he's interviewed all these people who were talking to Casolaro, and they said he was not depressed at all. He had all this great scoops, and he was excited about his book. And the same thing for Gary Webb. I talked to people who knew him, and they said he was in great spirit. He had been writing new articles, and he had uncovered all this new information, and he was far from depressed at all. And yeah, in that case, he had 2 gunshots to the head. So, I mean, we think of that as something that happened in Russia or autocratic country where they murder journalists, but sadly, it can happen here.
Have you ever been threatened for your life, or have you ever thought, "Oh, I'm going too deep," or anything like that?
No, I've not had my life threatened, although I used to teach in higher education, and I was removed from some universities.
Yeah, dude. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how they get you, dude. They don't get you physically, they get you financially. Jeremy, man, great episode. Thank you so much for coming on. One more time, tell them where they can find you.
Covert Action Magazine, and you can also check out my website at jeremykuzmarov.com.
All right, what'd you guys think?
Down the body count.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of crazy, dude. But it's like, it goes back to kind of the episode we just did with Isaac and Mark and all those guys. It's just like, there's just this class of dark arts people constantly manipulating our reality. And they do it, and you want to go, okay, it's money and power, but really it's even beyond that. It's just straight up loose jacking, causing anxiety, causing chaos, causing pain, causing suffering, and that's what they feed off of. And it's so crazy. And it's like, it's only shocking to us because we we believe in love and all that stuff, but I think this is our reality, dude.
Yeah, and I think that's astute to say it's a class of people because it really is. There's no distinction between George H.W. Bush and Clinton.
And
his
Obama.
son and Obama.
And Joe,
Yeah, I'm just going right
Joe
down
Biden.
Yeah, I mean, and Trump, honestly, I believe that. Anybody who has what it takes, or that's not quite the right word, anybody who's found success at that level, you know what I mean, who's managed to make it to the presidency.
Yeah, you don't get there.
You can't get there.
You can't get there.
They don't let you do that if you're a good person.
Robert Kennedy Jr., he did something shady that he's right on everything but Israel. Like, he's so off on that.
Well, yeah, and JFK had the woman thing. They had the woman thing on JFK. I mean, they have to have something on.
I think he was bisexual, JFK.
Maybe so. Yeah.
I think he was just banging dudes too,
hitting
just
holes, like you say.
just hitting holes. I didn't get into that. I should have asked him if he had any research into Bill Clinton's bisexuality, because I think Bill Clinton was bisexual as well. He's just one of those horn dogs.
Trisexual.
He's like, he's like, I'll try anything. Let's go.
Well, we
bro.
tried to ask him about the sex trafficking. He kind of just went around that.
I don't think he was afraid of it. I just think that he didn't. I think he focused more, because if you go on his website, they tee off, dude.
Yeah.
They go off on crazy shit, and it's really cool to see that. Like, yeah, I'm gonna start reading that shit. It's gotta be nuts, dude. I bet you they're constantly getting hacked and all that stuff.
Well, I mean, yeah, the problems we have, and we're just half the time, joking about farting.
Look at that.
You know what I mean? And they fuck with us. So
Yeah. 86% of the Guantanamo Bay inmates were sold to American troops.
In response to 5,000 bounty
I mean, they were just like, people were just like, this guy did something. And they were talking about that in Palestine. They would do that as well. Like, if you didn't like a neighbor, you just say, oh, he's working with Israel. And they just disappear.
And for money, people will do anything, especially when you're that poor and that much in need.
Yeah, it's like super tragic, but that's what you do. You make it's, if you look at kind of these third world countries, the way people make it out is through arts and entertainment. Very rarely is it through business. And it's, I forgot to bring this up to him, but I wanted to, it's like when we talk about like how they stole that invention. Like, Johnny, we've talked about this before. I really do believe when you see those commercials, like, hey, we help you with your inventions. You got a hot new invention? You want something to help you make money off it? Come to us. Tell us what your invention is, and we'll tell you how to make money. That's just mining data, dog. In case anybody comes up with something interesting, they can just jack it from you.
Interesting. Yeah, I remember those. Those used to be on late
They're
at night,
still on.
right? Are they really?
Yeah.
Inventors Helpline.
Yeah, Inventors Helpline. Tell us your invention. We swear we won't steal it.
Well, do you know how much a patent costs? It's impossible. It's crazy to believe how the process of saying that's mine. I created that.
Yeah, though they used to say the poor man's patent was to send yourself, what is it, a registered letter or a certified letter, and just keep it sealed, and then you could prove
The poor man's copyright.
Yeah, with like the stamp on it, the date of it that you had that idea. But I think that's a myth. I don't think that actually
of course.
works.
I mean, like, hold on, Johnny. If you're up against a giant corporation, you're like, I have this letter. They're going to be like, go fuck yourself,
fuck
dude.
yourself. That's right.
That's just done. Yeah. I mean, 100%, dude. And then but it just gets into, and that's what I'm telling you. I bet you if you study Jeffrey Epstein,
Jeff, you're on a nickname
you
basis.
study
Huh?
Big Jeffy,
Good old Jeff.
Good old Jeffy. You study Jeffy. If you go deep enough, I guarantee you there's what seems to be a sexual assault early. And then he also has all the other demographics they're looking for, characteristics, qualities, which is psychopath, charismatic, all this stuff. Those are the guys they use. If you're a sex fiend, super villain, they just feed you your sex stuff. You play ball with them. You give them what they want, which is blackmail and compromise. And they just feed your sex addiction. And you play ball until you no longer make them money. And then they take you out. And that's why they're taking out P. Diddy right now. I really do believe that because he's not making them money anymore. And they owe him money from all these albums he made them forever.
So you know how there's like football scouts, soccer scouts, there's elite scouts, school shooter scouts. They're out there at high schools, at colleges. Be like, okay, here we go,
dude.
Here's one of them. Here's another one.
You remember in New Mexico? They found that compound that literally was trying to train school shooters.
Training, which is unbelievable.
Right? It's like crazy to me. And that case just went away.
Yeah, how is, I mean...
That's what we were talking about with Isaac. That's the reality. That is what's out there. We don't believe in it because we want to believe in the American dream, but that's not the reality.
And you tell someone that, they won't believe it.
They won't.
There's a school shooting school camp for kids, and you're like, no, there's not. You're making up. You're a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
Okay, Alex Jones.
Yeah. But, I mean, that's the Bill Clinton, P. Diddy, they're all the same. And I guarantee you Jeffrey Epstein's just like that. And all these guys. And there's more of them. I mean, they're getting into Jay-Z. They say is even worse.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I've asked you this. Do you think Vince McMahon is the Jeffrey Epstein of WWE?
Well,
or do you think that's a whole different situation?
I mean, I just don't. I don't think that Vince McMahon is contributing to culture. Do you? I mean, I'm open-minded.
He was for sure, for sure.
Like 80s and but I don't think like.
Well, even though I mean, dude, there are a lot of people that I mean, it always surprises that are into that shit.
It's
like,
crazy.
Yeah, like a lot, bro. Like they play sold out arenas.
But let me ask you something.
Every weekend. Every weekend.
Where does like if I go rap music, hip hop,
it's not the same.
Hollywood is influencing what young people believe, right?
Like let's see what their ratings are. I'm curious.
What is pro wrestling doing? Is anyone going out in tighties and hard nipples and coming from the top row on the people like?
Well, I mean, you know, it's
now we've done episodes where the occult in pro wrestling, like they were talking about 9/11, New World Order, maybe some of the homoerotica. So it's definitely possible.
Like, so WWE Next gets like 654,000. Raw gets almost 2 million. It looks like WWE SmackDown gets 2.1 million.
That's every week?
Yeah, I mean, these are the last few episodes I'm looking at here. Yeah, Raw, it looks like goes anywhere from 1.5 to 2.
I mean, you know it's working if they got Jake Paul and all those on their Prime.
I mean, he brings kids in there.
Yeah, I don't know about that. But I do think that wrestling is part of culture for sure, especially young people, which is they care a lot about that for sure.
I'm not against what you're saying. Okay, I'm just saying.
I just think we're out.
What is the influence?
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, they have, but if you think about wrestling more as a recruiting ground for people who are going to influence culture, like John Cena, The Rock. I mean, there are a lot of people who have come out of that. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's something to that, but I couldn't quite place it.
I agree with you.
I think he's a guy they let have his own little kingdom, and he probably paid a price somewhere along the way
just
for it.
Shoving dildos in weird places, bro.
Yeah.
Shoving dildos in weird places, dog.
Calling them after the wrestlers. That was crazy when I heard that.
That's so hilarious.
Like, you're crazy.
That is so fucking fun. But it was a great episode, dude. You know, sometimes with these episodes, they start a little what I call dense because it's a lot of information. And then once they feel our love, they loosen up and it just starts going turbo.
Yeah, this was one of those.
Right? So, yeah. Guys, go to SamTripoli.com, grab tickets to Costa Mesa. And then we have Morris Plains, New Jersey. Then Broadbrook Opera House, Tinfoil Hat Comedy, Swarm Tank. Grab those tickets now. A flyer will be made this week. Go to SamTripoli.com. Guys, got all the videos. Hey, I am putting up episode after episode after episode on Sam Tripoli. All my episodes that I do myself that you get on Rockfin for $15. You can get my own stuff for $8. And I'm trying to put up 3 weeks. Sometimes it's 2, but I'm doing my best. You get for $8, okay? Then you got, if you love Rockfin, you want all that premium content, there you go. Tinfoil Hat, bang, 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 bang. Zero, that's coming back. And then you got tomorrow I'm meeting on episode 2 of Chaos Twins. Very excited about that.
All right.
Episode 2. And then we're also going to get into the videos. And then Cash Daddies. Tell them about Cash Daddies.
Ooh.
Well, I mean, Howie's killing it. If you don't know, we talk a lot about personal finance and investing. And Howie Dewey, Sam's buddy, also a comedian, very funny guy. He every week gives out picks, stock picks, a lot of options trading. And if you don't know anything about options, we educate you about that. And Howie's on a hot streak right now. That's the short way to say.
Get in, $20, make a holler.
669 members.
Whoa, bro!
Whoa.
It is a party.
Yeah,
Everybody's
it's a great community too. There's a chat in there. Patreon's added a chat feature now, and it's just popping. It's like a Discord. People are exchanging ideas. It's fantastic.
Dude, somehow Kawhi Leonard just made second team All NBA. I don't get it.
He didn't even play.
Yeah,
what are we
I'm
talking
Oh,
about?
look
Are those
what's
new
up, the
t-shirts?
New t-shirts are up, guys. Limited edition.
Is that
We got
Scooby Van? Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Oh.
We got the Bang Bang Pow
Look
going.
at you. Look at
that.
you.
Bang Bang Pow. There we go. Go down a little more. Yeah, man. Also, limited edition Bigfoot t-shirt. Look at that, dude. The t-shirt van. Tinfoil Hat Podcast. Look at that, dude. He's crushing it. Keep going down. Yep. New ones. We got the dude. Sam,
Ooh,
dude,
you brought this one back?
Yep. We're bringing it back. We're making it happen. What else do we got? Okay. The cameos are fire. Gold and silver, dude. That's our boy. SamTripoli.com. SamTripoli.gold. Okay. Join it. Tinfoil. Tinfoil is the promo code. Get in precious metals. Let's go. Precious metals. Let's go. Okay. We also have Rife Technology. Okay. He'll be back in the show very soon. AquaCure Hydrogen Brown Gas. Who's just talking about that a little while ago? The lack of hydrogen in our atmosphere. This is AquaCure. Get you that. Okay? You need hydrogen in your life. Go back one. Harley Ray. Look at that. Pretty. Harley Ray Crystal Shop. Candles, sage, whatever you need. It's the best looking website you ever see. Use the promo code SWARM15. Get 15% off your purchase. All right. And then Chemical Free Body, one of my favorite supplements. That's all I take it every day. I feel better. Dude, we got gut. We got toxic decot. And then go to my favorite right there. Alpha Energy. Dude, you take this. Bang, bang, pow, dude. Bang.
Did you try that one because of the name right off the bat? You're like,
dude,
Alpha.
anything that gets my nipples hard, ready to rock, I'm in, dude. I am in. Okay. And then what else do we got there? Okay, then our boy Joel Staley as well. There we go. Love that. Check that out. Bang, bang, pow. Check it out. Love in America. So, yeah. So, Joel said to help you work out. All of the telegrams for all my shows go down. We got all the podcasts you could ever want to listen to. Audio, go down. Radios, my specials, my new one's about to come out. I think I'm going to do something with Rumble. I'm very excited. Right. Yeah, I'm very excited about that. Keep going down. Channels. Oh, yeah, these are all of my video channels. You can get video right there on SamTripoli.com. Anything else, guys?
There's a new Broken Sim on there that's really funny. We had a good time. And you can find me on Twitter. I need friends. At Johnny Woodard, please.
Go check out my new channel. It's called XG Marks the Spot. I've been vlogging me, Sam Tripoli, in Chicago, and Eddie Bravo, and you find out if Sam Tripoli's
channel on what?
Actually marks a spot on YouTube. It's just small little vlogs. I'd be on the road a lot, so I recorded it to see if Sam says the N-word on Chicago. You get to go find out in my vlog.
I love it. And final thing, we want to thank everybody. The Ian Carroll episode got to 254 of all podcasts on Apple.
That's amazing.
Isn't that amazing? Of all the podcasts put on Apple in the United States.
What a cool guy.
Yeah. Blessings. All right, enjoy these highlights.
Here's a clip from the latest Broken Sim.
All right, so did you see Eric Adams said one of the fun, and totally seriously, like when I first saw this, I was like, oh, clearly he was joking. But he's not joking, dude. Listen, did you see this from Eric Adams? Check this out.
Migrant and asylum seeker plan that states those jobs that we are in high demand, we could expedite. How do we have a large body of people that are in our city and country that are excellent swimmers, and at the same time we need lifeguards? And the only obstacle is that we won't give them the right to work to become a lifeguard.
So he's talking about all these Hispanics are great swimmers. You know, they're swimming over
hey,
here.
dude, they got through they came over the river. I mean, like, it's just it's a joke at this point.
And he's dead serious. There's not a crack of it, like a whisper of a smile on
Dude,
his
and
face.
plus he's wearing an earring, dude. Like, not just like it's very weird when you see grown men with earrings.
It is weird. Yeah, it is weird. I mean, we saw that last week with the Sad Boys.
It's so weird to me.
So speaking of that, we also had this news out of DC. Have you seen that they have this, and the court has upheld this, where they're allowing non-citizens to vote in local DC elections. So people who are not citizens of this country but live in DC are being allowed to vote in elections in the District of Columbia. Isn't that crazy? People who aren't residents.
Yeah, I mean,
they're residents, but they're not citizens.
Yeah,
are voting.
100%. It's absolutely ridiculous.
And the
It's
courts
done
have
on
upheld
purpose.
it.
Yeah, of course they have. It's a fucking banana court, dude. This is what's being done on multiple levels. It's all being done from inside. I don't want to get too political.
For 30 days is all you have to live here, and you can vote.
I'm just,
as a
I can't get
non-citizen in the
into it.
election. Specifically, the law allows all residents over 18 who have lived in the district for 30 days, regardless of whether they had legal permission to enter the country. Did you hear that? Regardless of whether they entered legally, they can vote.
Yeah, I actually think it's absolutely ridiculous.
That's a precursor to what you're talking about.
Yep.
And then we just have more of the comedy of reality right now. Our Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, was in Ukraine. And what do you think the Secretary of State might be doing when he's in Ukraine?
I know. I saw it.
Doing some important, you know, let's say like talking to diplomats or something like that.
I saw it.
I don't want to give you my fingerprint, Google. Why are you asking for this?
I'll fight Google right the fuck now, bro. You think I'm kidding, dude?
I just want to enter my password. What's wrong with that? Why do you need my fingerprint?
I'll fight Google right the fuck.
Have you noticed that they start asking for your face and your fingerprints rather than your password?
Yeah, you fucking fucks.
You want my biometrics now, bitch?
You want my
what is this, Minority Report?
Dude,
that's coming, by the way, dude, where it scans your face or your eyes.
Yeah,
it's going to be your face. And then they have customized ads while you're walking around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Google sucks, man. Google's been the end of this fucking planet.
So, Johnny, I accidentally sent somebody money on Apple Pay. If I just delete it, if they haven't taken yet, I'm fine, right?
Nope. No, that's gone.
What?
It's in there. No, they unless they don't have Apple Pay and they have to accept
he
it.
says he doesn't have it.
I don't. You want me to Google? You want me to Google that for you really quick?
Yeah, Google that for me.
Accidentally sent Apple Pay to someone. How to get it back? You do not get back the money unless they give it back to you. There you go. So this is what Blinken was doing, by the way. He was over there playing.
Don't they have to? He says he doesn't have Apple Pay on his iPhone.
He has to open it, like set it up. He's over there playing Neil Young covers. Is what he's doing. This is so bad. Oh, that's terrible. Oh my god. That's what our paid representatives, or our appointed representatives to other countries are doing. All right. This is just weird to me. So Miami, they're having trouble getting cops to work in Miami. Naturally, the place is a shithole. With crime. So what they're doing to recruit cops in Miami, Sam, is this.
So pissed off right now, dude.
Why? What's wrong?
Because I accidentally sent this guy fucking money.
Like a lot?
Enough
to piss you off?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go on.
He's going to have to send it back to you. Yeah.
Fuck me, man.
How'd you do that? Just the wrong number or something?
Dude, it's like I got 90 texts coming in all the fucking time.
You'll get it back. Have faith. So Miami, to get people to work there, has added a Rolls Royce to the police cruiser fleet. Like what is that the right message you want to send with all these people on the streets, inflation going through the roof, and the police are driving
Why
a
do they
Rolls, bro.
think that one Rolls Royce?
Well, they said it's a start. Yeah, this is the top of the line. This is the best you can get as far as it relates to vehicles. The police department is the best there is in the country. Miami-Dade Police Chief Wayne Jones said, recruiting police officers in this country today is a difficult thing to do. Using this car to help us do recruitment is going to be great. So come on down and drive a Rolls Royce, and you can get shot at by drug dealers.
It's like unbelievable. They have no clue how to fix anything.
It's the dumbest. I mean, the dumbest idea.
Because Johnny, they don't actually want to fix anything. They want it just to look busy. That's what they want.
It's like construction in LA. Yeah.
It says, "Oh, we're looking busy. We're being busy. Look how busy we are."
So good news for people who grew up in the 90s like me. Maybe good news. They are doing a sequel to Happy Gilmore. Netflix has announced Adam Sandler to star. Boy, I hope they don't fuck that up. That movie meant a lot to me, dude. Like, I watched that movie as a kid more than maybe any other movie.
Yeah, I love Adam Sandler. I think all of his movies have been pretty good. I'm afraid. I think his move to like drama has been really good for him. And
he's a good actor.
Comedy's just hard to do right now in movies.
He's like Robin Williams.
Because the internet is moving at light speed, and these guys making these sketches are doing the funniest shit you've ever seen.
We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Tinfoil hat.